What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Evolution Podcast. Today's episode is extremely valuable. I have here with me one of my good friends, Frankie Dades. He's a hybrid athlete. He has an amazing story to tell about how he got to where he is today. Right now, he has built his personal brand across the different social media platforms to almost 200,000 followers, and it's growing at a rapid pace. I'm hyped to introduce my boy Frankie. What's going on, man?
My man, thank you for having me.
Of course. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you're a hybrid athlete. Tell the listeners, what does it mean to be a hybrid athlete?
So a hybrid athlete, it's not a new term, but it's becoming like up and coming. It's basically someone who trains endurance type styles of training and strength training as well. If you know like traditional marathon runners, they're pretty, a lot of them are pretty, they have to remain pretty thin. They strength train, but not to the extent that like hybrid athletes do, because their whole goal is to be as fast as possible and win races. So you look at a lot of them are skinnier, they're not as muscular. And then you look at on the opposite spectrum, someone who lifts heavy, bodybuilders, powerlifters, they don't have that endurance to run, marathons, ultra marathons, etc. So a hybrid athlete essentially excels in both. One of the original hybrid athletes, Alex Viada, he runs like ultra marathons and does like Ironmans, which is a run, swim, and bike.
That's crazy.
And squatted 700 pounds. So like it's a different style of training that like you really have to like.
You master everything.
Yeah, that's like my whole thing is I wanna be someone who's not I'm not good at just one thing. I want to have like multiple skills. I want to be functional in all aspects.
Yeah, I feel like that's the definition of athletic, though, when you really think about it. Though. If you think of an athlete isn't just strong or fast or has a lot of stamina. They kind of have the entire spectrum of that.
Yeah.
They have to have that in order to be an athlete.
Exactly.
So that's like the definition of being athletic. If I wanted to start actually focusing like and really training, I think that's the route I would take. I know previously you used to box. So what inspired you to get into this type of training?
So I started boxing at a very young age. My dad ran multiple gyms. So I started, I think I was in like 4th grade when I first stepped in a boxing gym, and I was good. I had talent, but at that age I was like very shy, timid. I didn't have confidence, so I didn't excel to the point that I should have. I wasted a lot of talent in that sport. Like I said, I had the talent, but I never excelled like I should have because I was so timid. I just never had the confidence in myself. I would psych myself out before I even stepped in the ring. Like I still did well, but not as good as I could have.
Exactly.
And so when I did that throughout elementary school, high school, and then I went to college. And at that point, I was dorming. So like it just wasn't a priority at that point. And then I didn't start hybrid training until about 2 years ago.
Okay.
But I experimented in numerous styles of training since then, like from boxing to that. So I took the typical meathead route. I just went like, go to the gym, do my chest and tries, back and buys. And then that kind of got boring for me. Like not boring, it was just like the same thing every day. And I started CrossFit. I did CrossFit for about 3 years. I did really well. Now CrossFit it's kind of like well-rounded, but at the same time it's not, because CrossFitters they could do a lot of different functional movements, but they're not benching, they're not really running. If you ask a CrossFitter, and including myself at the time, if you ask a CrossFitter to run anything more than like a mile in a workout, like they're dead. So I did that for about 3 years. I liked it, and then I was like, you know what, I want to change things up. So I started running. And when I started running, dude, I couldn't run more than 2 miles without like stopping, panting for air. Like that's what was insane. Like I couldn't do it. And I had the strength part down. That was never an issue, because like I said, I always like lifted weights, always. So that was fine. It was the running that was new to me, and I had to learn that it's more than just going out and running. There's like technique, there's breathing, there's heart rate, there's so many things you got to learn about it. And I was so intrigued, and I was like determined to like, I want to get good at this. And then I ran back in September. I ran my first half marathon, and now I'm training for full in January.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
when you got into the running, because that's something that I could relate to be completely honest. I've worked out. I've always tried to stay in shape. But when it came to running, it was something that I always dreaded. And it's because I wasn't good at it. And that's, I feel like a lot of listeners right now could always relate. Like if they're not good at something right now and they're starting at the bare bottom, like they lose motivation.
Yeah.
What made you continue to push when you did that first 2 miles, you were panting for air? Like how did you stay consistent?
So, I guess I kind of had like a chip on my shoulder for myself. Cause like I just said, I grew up, I was like, I didn't have, didn't have that confidence. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I want to see what I'm capable of. I was pretty good at CrossFit. And I was like, if I was good at that, I'm probably good at other things when I put my mind to it. And, so I knew I was doing something wrong. So I took the time and I listened to people who are that's their sport, is to run. And I learned about it. And I learned why I dreaded it so much, why I was panting for air, why, there's different paces. You got to watch your heart rate. It was like a whole science that intrigued me. And once I learned that there was more, I was like, oh, okay, like let me take a step back. Let me restart this process up, and then we'll build from there. So like when you actually do it the right way, because like you said, I used to dread it too. It was like, I never want to do this. I suck at it. Once you learn the right way to do it, just like anything else, it's like, oh, okay, this is enjoyable. Now you're learning, now you're seeing progress, and now you want to push yourself and see how far you could go.
Exactly. And that makes so much sense because like I know for a fact, I never did any research. I would just go in and I would just run and I would get out of breath, and as everybody else. Yeah. Same thing with even working out. Like I would do the meathead style, the chest and tris, and then just go there and do the same thing. And I'm getting bored of it now. I'm trying to seek, a different thing to do to stay in shape, but to also like give me like a level of like not motivation but inspiration, like to push me to get to the gym. And I think maybe learning about it, understanding at a deeper level, which is learning triggers dopamine in your head regardless. When you learn something new and you find it inspiring and you find it like interesting, you trigger dopamine. That's going to make you not only remember it but also want to go there and implement it. So that's actually an amazing strategy that I think everybody that's listening to this right now should go ahead and start implementing.
100%. I think out of everything I've tried, hybrid training is probably the most enjoyable for me. You really could push yourself beyond. There's so many different routes you could take, and like to be able to achieve it and like still go to the gym and like pull deadlifts or squat heavy and bench press and like still maintain your muscle mass and like feel strong, not just fast. It's like, wow, like this is really like,
exactly,
it's nice.
Because like that's like what most people deal with, like you were saying before, right? Like if you're like a marathon runner, you don't really have that much strength. Like you have to maintain like that type of body to like be the marathon runner, and then you have like the strength trainers that can't run a mile without being out of breath because they're not training cardio at all.
Exactly.
But now you're like the overall athlete, and it's like it just makes you feel like 10 times better. And I think that's at the end of the day, that's what my goal would be too. So I can't wait to even chat more after this about how, like, what things I should be doing and what things you may have learned, or what resources I could dive into as well to learn.
I can help you out with that. I'm not like I'm not an expert. Like there's people that I'll show you that you can listen to that are so much more, like have achieved so much more than I have as of right now. But yeah, it's really a whole different style of training, like in a new lifestyle. Like it's awesome. And the thing is, you're most likely never gonna be the top, like you're never gonna finish first place in I'm not gonna say never, but you most likely won't finish first place in a marathon if you're still like you're still carrying muscle.
Exactly.
It's just science. It's how it works. But that's not what those races are about, and that's also why I love it. Like when I ran my half marathon, I wasn't concerned about who was ahead of me and who was behind me. It was like, I'm gonna challenge myself. So my goal was a sub 2 hour half marathon, which for someone who's a runner their whole life, that's really not too much. They some of them finish in 56 minutes, but I was like, I never ran more than 3 miles, and now I'm gonna run 13.2 miles, and I finished in my goal is like an hour and 58 minutes, and I was like, this is like, there are runners who really like that, like consistently run and only run. They work toward that sub 2 hours. So like, for me to just hop in there and like get that sub 2 hour half marathon, it was like awesome. So
it's a huge goal. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And it's amazing to see how, like you were saying before, you were panting after 2 miles.
Yeah.
And now you're all like the progress. And how long ago were you panting in that level when you were just starting out running? Was that like 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
I was training, and that's a thing which was like bothering me so much. I was in shape. Like, if we're gonna go like far back, I hated running when I was like younger and everything. But like even when I was doing CrossFit, there'd be workouts with like, sometimes like the most they put in a workout is like a mile run.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, like that's gonna be the hardest part of the. And I was like, why am I like? And I was in shape. I'm like, why is this run killing me?
Yeah.
And it just bothered me because I was like, I got to be doing something wrong, which I was. It's like it opened my eyes up, and
it made it easier when you started like watching your heart rate and taking like making.
It's humbling though, because the biggest mistake everybody does when they go out and run, like say I tell you go out and run 2 miles, you're gonna try and run it as fast and hard as you can, which is what I was doing. I was watching my pace. I was trying to keep my pace high.
Yeah.
That's where you get like you're completely wrong, which most people don't think that. And it's humbling because now when you're watching heart rate, you might be moving at a 10-minute mile per mile pace to start off. Maybe I think I was running at a 12-minute, you know what I mean? Like 12 minutes per mile. And I was like, this is so slow. I was like going really slow, but my heart rate was nice and low. And then you build that aerobic base, and like eventually you'll see the time start going up. And it's like, okay, now that was worth it. But like to step back and like, I was trying to run it like a 7-minute per mile pace. I was trying to run at that. And now I'm like running at 12. It was like, I was like, this is horrible. I'm so slow.
Exactly.
It was definitely humbling for sure.
That makes sense because when I would run, like when the pandemic just first hit, I would run 2 miles around Great Kills, around my area over here, and I would always look at the time, and my goal was trying to get the newest time, and I would sprint out the last bit just to make sure, like, oh, I just hit an 8-minute 50-second mile. Let's get it to 8 minutes. I hit 8 minutes. I tried to get into the 7. I was not able to. I'd never gotten to the 7 minute, but like time was what I was focused on. I always had the heart rate. I had the Apple Watch. Never looked at the heart rate. I don't even know what heart rate is a good heart rate.
So the thing is, there's like a formula that you have to do based on your age to find like your specific target aerobic heart rate. But the idea is, think about it, the higher your heart rate is, the more energy your body is using. The lower it is, the less. So if you're running and your heart rate's like 180, your body is using so much energy. It's not sustainable. You'll run maybe you'll run 2 miles at that, but you won't be able to run any farther than that because your body is just going to use up all its energy. Keep it low, and then your body can go. It's like just very sustainable. It can go over a period of time.
That makes sense.
It's very important to pay it. There's a time and a place to do runs where it's like as fast and hard as you can and not pay attention to heart rates. Like I was just telling you, I went for my mile time. Like if you're training for something like that, or it's called speed work. So if you want to get faster, in marathon training or any type of running training, you incorporate speed work, which is intervals or tempo runs, and that's where you'll do an 800-meter run as fast as you can. So that gets your body used to moving at that pace, and then the aerobic slow runs, like I was just telling you, where you watch heart rate, that builds your aerobic base. So now you're incorporating both of those trainings where your body's getting used to moving at a fast pace, not really watching your heart rate, and then the aerobic runs watching your heart rate. Over time they coincide, and now your slow runs are going to start getting faster, and then you're going to see that pace that you were running your intervals or your tempo runs at, your heart rate might not be 180 anymore. Maybe it's down to 160, which is still high, but like your body's getting used to it. It's adapting to it, and it's getting better.
That makes sense.
It's a process. It takes time, but like, and that's why a lot of people like no, because like they don't see the progress right away.
They don't have the patience. And they don't see the progress right away. They try to do it for a week or 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And then they throw it out. They're like minimal progress, if any.
Yeah.
And they want to see quicker results.
Exactly. And it's not an overnight thing at all.
No, definitely not.
I have a lot of improvement to do myself, but I'll get there eventually.
Definitely. Everybody can continuously improve. Once you feel like you're complacent, that's when you start going downhill.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as leveling off. It's either you're going up or you're going down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's why I'm like big with, you set goals for yourself. If you're not setting goals for yourself constantly, I feel like you're wasting so much potential that
you're not even going in a set direction. You have no idea where you're going.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I used to be like that when I was a lot younger. I didn't really, well, it's not that I didn't have goals. It's just I didn't know the importance of them. I didn't have them written down, and I didn't have a direction, like an actual like formula. Like I want to get here, and then this is going to allow me to get to the next step, and then this is going to allow me to get to this step.
You said it perfect. So that's the big thing. We were younger. We had goals. It was like, all right, I want to do this when I get older. But we never knew about small goals. So it's small goals lead to big goals. So you got the big goal, which is all the way over here. How are you going to get there? You're not just going to, you know what I mean? Now small goals, set small goals, and that'll build up over time.
You got to decompose that 10-year goal into a 5-year goal.
Yeah.
And then break that 5-year goal into like individual annual goals. Like that's going to build you up to that 5-year goal. And then within each yearly goal, annual goal, you have monthly goals. Break that down to a weekly goal, and then just break that down to a daily to-do list.
Exactly.
And now every day you have that to-do list, and you don't have to focus on 10 years. Just know that you're going to get there because you took the time of thinking about the whole entire, journey. And now, all I have to do is focus on this specific to-do list today, get it done, and I'm on track. And then just do it at a consistent pace over time to make sure you're doing those daily to-do lists for 10 years. And I guarantee you're going to be able to achieve your 10-year goal even before 10 years because compound interest comes in.
Very, very true. And the thing with just looking at that 10-year goal or any type of goal that's far out, if you look, most people will wind up deterring from that or quitting because you're looking so far ahead and it's like, oh my God, I have 10 years, that it's 10 years away. Like instead of looking at what's right in front of you. So I could incorporate this to like running. When I'm running, like I ran 16 miles. If I sat there on mile 1 and I'm like, I still have 15 to go, like I'm going to psych myself out. That voice in my head is going to be like, oh, quit. Like that's too long. But if I'm like, all right, I'm on mile 1, and then I'm like, all right, all I'm going to do is get to mile 2. And then I get to mile 2 and I'm like, all right, now mile 3, like, or even smaller than that. I'm running. Let me get to that tree. I get to the tree. Now, all right. Now I'm gonna get to that fire height, and then so on.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I do when I run a lot.
Wow,
because you could, that voice in your head, it wants you to be comfortable. It wants you to get away.
It ruins everything. Yeah. It's tough to beat that. It's like the voice in your head, the devil on your shoulder. I refer to it as well. It's always giving you that negative, like feedback because your brain wants to be comfortable. Yep. The brain's job is to make sure your body is in a state of comfort. So like if like you're scared or you see like a threat, you're gonna have fight or flight, right? Your body's gonna go into a different state where you're running a little bit faster, you have a little bit more stamina, it's exerting all that energy because you know that you're in danger. But it's the same thing that kind of hurts you at the end of the day because it's like you don't need to be running at the end of the day. You could sit down and relax. Yeah. But you're wrong. Like I want to achieve this. I want to push myself. I want to reach that potential. Yep. But the brain, that side of your brain, just wants to have comfort. So you always have to. It's a mental game, and then it's also the physical game because your physical body needs to be able to keep up, and you're building the physical body. But then the mental, like aspect of it is, I think, at least 80%. In my opinion, you could have a better, outlook on that. You know what I mean?
It's mindset is honestly 80% is like generous. I think mindset. 100%, because if you have a negative mindset, then you're not gonna do anything. If you have a positive mindset, you're already halfway there at that point because now you at least you overcame that negativity and now you're like determined to do whatever you could do.
You believe it's possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like if you have a negative mindset, you don't even believe that it's possible. So why are you going to try?
You're not even going to start.
You're just going to talk shit about it, like most people do. Why would I run? I'm just going to sit here and I hate running. Yeah. And you start making all the excuses. I can't run. No. The way that my body is, I can't run.
I wish I could do that. You can. You 100%. Why can't you? Who's
stopping you?
Exactly.
You're stopping you.
Yep. And if you like, I look at my fitness in. Not everybody does this, but I personally look at it. I relate it to life a lot. So if I'm gonna quit on a workout or halfway through a run, I'm gonna do that. You're gonna take that habit into anything in life. Yeah. You're gonna definitely, that's building. You're building a negative habit right there. You just quit on the run. All right, I didn't have to do it. Like, who's gonna know? Like, then you're gonna start doing that with anything. Like,
exactly.
Your job at work or in your relationship, like. You're just gonna quit on, you know what I mean? Like
you're developing that bad habit, 100%. Exactly. I learned that in the book right there, The Power of Habit. You just literally iterated exactly how that book broke this specific thing down. You can't quit. If you're gonna say you're gonna do something, you have to finish everything you start.
Yeah.
If you say you're gonna do 1 mile, like even if you're a beginner, you're gonna do 1 mile and you're running like, you know, at like 0.5 and like, you know what, I broke a sweat. Like at least I went to the gym today. Let me stop. Get to that fucking 1 mile. At least, you know what I mean? Get to those 2 miles. Whatever you set out to, get it, and then sometimes overachieve as well to make yourself even feel that much better that you were able to push it. Because a lot of times it's so mental. Like I would go, like I don't run 16 miles, but if I go to the gym, I'll do the 2 miles. When I'm at 2 miles, like from 1.5 to 2, it's like tough for me because I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, oh my God. But then when I get 2 miles, I'm like, you know, let me just cool down a little bit. Out of nowhere, I get a rush of energy. I don't have like a goal that's like breaking me down mentally, and I could go to 3. Like I could still go because now like I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get to 2. I'm getting tired. I can't do it. I'm getting tired. And then like you reach that goal, you know you're satisfied. Yeah. And now when you want to overachieve, you don't have that pressure on your shoulders anymore. And next thing you know, I had an energy rush, and I can keep going. I get 3, and I'm like, wow, I really like did 50% more than my goal was, and I was less tired at the end, which is weird.
Yeah, that's where mental comes in too. Your mind is telling you can't do it, but like you really have more. Like you're only like David Goggins says, the 40% rule. Yeah, you're only 40% when your mind starts giving up. You're 40% there. So like you're running your 1.5 miles and you're trying to get to 2. You could keep going. You could probably do 5 miles. You know what I mean? Like if you just don't listen to those negative thoughts in your head.
So tell me, how did you when you were just starting and you like from the bottom? How did you overcome that negative voice in your head?
So like the negative voice, like telling me to quit.
Yeah.
So I used to, like I said, going back to before, like I was. When I was younger, I would give into that negative voice a lot. I would make a lot of excuses. I would doubt myself. I underplayed myself, and I was like, I got to a point in my life where I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. And I learned to slowly but surely not listen to that voice. What I would, like, by slowly I mean when my mind starts telling me like, all right, stop. I push myself like, all right, 1 more rep or 1 more, you know, 1 more mile, and like I did it, and I'm like, okay. So you learn, like, I was capable of more. It was just I didn't want to. Like my mind didn't want to, and over time you build that habit of just kind of learn. You learn to cope with it, and I'm not gonna lie and say like it came today when I was running. It was like the last 2 miles I was like deep in the pain cave, and like I was so last week I ran 14 miles. This week was 16 on my program, and I remember I hit 14 today. And just my mind was like, all right, like you hit 14 last week, like just do 15 today. And I was like, I had to keep fighting it in my head. Yeah. I was like, no, like you know, you did more than last week, but I set out for 16. In my program is 16. Now, if I short myself that 1 mile, some might say, oh, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but you know, you're
cheating yourself.
Cheat myself.
Exactly. And now you have that goal at the end of the day to run that marathon. And if you cut the corners here and there thinking it's going to be all right, you're going to have to cut the corner on that marathon too. You're going to be not unsuccessful, but you're not going to be achieving the goal that you wanted to achieve, because that's why you're doing this program. This program is breaking it down, you know what I mean? Yeah. Step by step of what you need to be doing.
Exactly. So if I'm giving into it at 14 miles, I'm not going to make it to 26.2 miles. You know, that voice is going to be there the whole time. Am I going to listen to it? No, it's going to be there, but I'm going to be battling it the entire time.
You're going to be stronger than it. You're going to tell it to shut up. It's basically an argument in your head. Like, like there's 2 sides. You know the side that you need to push forward, and the side that's telling you to quit. It's like literally an argument while you're running. Yep. This applies to everything. When I was studying, for example, for my CFA and my level 1, it takes about like 500 hours of study, like for that one test. And that's in you know, after work, obviously it's not like when you're in school, it's like that's a lot. So it's about like 20 hours a week on top of like your regular work week. Yeah. And I would always like follow the similar type of schedule. And I had a program, Kaplan. That's how I'm learning this program. It was like, you need to do X and Y these weeks to get yourself to this point, consume all the content by a month before, so you have a full month to do the practice exams. And I would have the same voice in my head, because I'm sitting here after a 9-hour workday and a 2-hour commute home. I'm here trying to put in 3-4 hours of study now. And I would say I'm tired. All this stuff is coming to my head. But I'm like, no, I got to get this done. And if you fell behind, I have all the extra month. But no, I could fail the test. And guess what? I got to study everything over. Yeah. You just fail. You do not achieve the goal. Yep. And that's what you have to always put in the back of your mind. Like, at the end of the day, you're doing this for a reason. And always remember why you started. Yeah. And don't start if you're not really passionate about finishing. because and now you're just wasting time.
Yeah.
Only start something when you really know that you need to finish it, or you want to finish it because it's gonna be a benefit, or it's gonna make you happy, or whatever it's gonna do. It's gonna transform you, and you're gonna be happy when you achieve that goal, whatever it is. Working out, fitness related, financial related, just education related, whatever it is. Relationship based, don't get into a relationship if you're not seeking this through to the end. Why are you just going to date somebody and waste a year if you don't see yourself with that person?
I always say that. I never understood that.
You know what I mean? I never did either. My wife now was my first girlfriend, and you know what I mean? And just because I saw myself with her.
Yeah, that's that's a whole character issue. Like, why are you going to get in a relationship and
just to be in
cheat and like people go through relationships like tissues, like you just throw it out. Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
Why are you wasting your time? Why? The whole goal of being in a relationship is to find the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. If that's not in you're just doing it for. I never understood.
I never understood either. People had like 6, 7, significant others throughout like high school, and I'm like,
loves of your lives are you gonna?
How can you love somebody and then just stop?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Maybe like, all right, there's certain examples that you could, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, when you had a real relationship and like, things didn't work out.
Things didn't work out. Understood.
Fine,
but like the 2 weeks, and then you get another boyfriend or girlfriend after like 2 weeks. It's like, what?
I just
whatever. But that's
a whole other can of worms.
That's a whole other conversation. That's crazy. No, but it's the same. It applies to everything. Yeah. So like for the listeners that are listening to this right now, I want them to really know that maybe their goal isn't to become like the best like hybrid athlete, even though you should focus on your fitness because physicality is definitely one of like the 6 pillars of evolution that I speak on. You have to focus on your physical health. You'll never be able to achieve financial goals. You won't be able to really control your emotions or really like any other of the 6 pillars that the physical, psychological, motivational. You can't do any of that if your physical body is deteriorating.
So I have a tattoo Spartan sleeve on my arm, and down the back I wrote "Built through adversity." I personally believe the way I looked at adversity was anything I went through in my life, any adversity, hardships, that I look back on now, that made me who I am. That made me the person. It wasn't the good times, but like the bad times that you overcame, that's what built me into who I am. So then I personally believe that physical fitness, aside from your health, and everything, I look at it as I put myself through adversity every single day.
Yeah.
So that prepares you for adversity and real. You're gonna run whatever kind of fitness you're gonna do. You're putting your body through that stress, that
exactly,
and you're overcoming that mental barrier that we just spoke about. You're putting yourself through adversity on a daily basis, and then that prepares you for life's problems. Because if you're giving, it goes back to what we just said, that if you're giving up and you're shorting yourself on that. What are you going to do when you face some real problems in life? You're going to crumble if you.
They're going to come too.
Yeah.
They're going to come whether you're in the work environment and you have to go and give a big presentation, or you're in your household and there's something going on with a family member. Like times get tough. It's life.
Always.
Life happens, and you need to be able to be prepared in order to handle those events.
Yeah.
And putting yourself through the physical stress prepares you. Because it's not only physical stress, it's that mental component as well. When I'm in my best shape and I go to work and I have to do a presentation, like the biggest thing when you're presenting is confidence. When you work out a lot and you're in shape, your confidence is high.
Yeah.
Your body's producing the dopamine, the endorphins that make you more confident, increase your level of self-esteem. It's how it works, especially when you're working out. So now when you go into the workforce and you look sharp, and you have to do that presentation, everybody has the butterflies. Everybody has like those feelings like when they don't want to do it. But not only are you used to telling your negative side of your mind to shut up, like I'm going to do it, but you're also feeling more confident, and then you kill that presentation. And it kind of loops back into, forcing yourself to go through that. Not only from like the physical like aspect, you could also like achieve that through like non-physical activities. For example, like I take a cold shower every night. My wife thinks I'm absolutely crazy, but like it's because I'm training myself to do things that I don't want to do. Like I don't plan on going in every day and freezing in the shower, but now I started doing that because I read in a book that I was reading that's going to train your mind to do things that you don't want to do. Yeah. And you have to practice becoming comfortable being uncomfortable at the end of the day. You didn't want to run the extra 2 miles today, but guess what? You did it.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to do it, but you knew it was right. And that's what I'm trying to do through different means, taking a cold shower or meditating or going to the gym, reading a book. Sometimes people, like even like the most successful people, they don't want to do those things, but they force themselves to do it because they have the mental capacity. They've trained that muscle in their brain to say, it doesn't matter if I want to do it or not, it's the right thing to do, so it's time to do it.
Yeah, you do what's got to be done.
Exactly.
Whether you want to, but when you're comfortable, most of the time, when you're comfortable, you're complacent, and you don't get anything done anyway. Anytime I've seen any type of like achievement of mine, it was through being uncomfortable.
Exactly. That's when you're growing. That's when you're evolving.
Yep.
Look at a diamond gets created under like extreme pressure.
Yeah.
Same thing with us. It's a great analogy when you look at human beings. Put somebody through pressure, that's how you know what their true potential is, because they're going to fight to get out of that, unless they cave in and let the pressure break them.
Yeah.
You have one or two choices. Yep. You know what I mean? And that's how you have to condition yourself to always fight. And when you fight, you evolve. That's why this podcast is called the Evolution Podcast, because I love the word evolve. It's something that I made a clothing brand out of now that just launched recently, because when I'm in the gym, and this is completely honest, when I'm in the gym and I see the word evolve, that's what makes me do the extra 2 reps or do the extra half a mile when I'm pushing myself. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it reminds me, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I in the gym right now? Because it reminds me that this is for my health. This is bigger than just me. This is for my body. This is for my mental health. This is for my family, to make sure that I'm just in shape and someone that's going to be able to play with my daughter when let's say she's playing soccer or lacrosse. I don't want to be the dad with the bad back. That's another thing. It's not only me, it's for somebody else. And I need to evolve into that being, right? So that's what it reminds me of, that, and that's like the messaging behind it. So that's why I love that word.
It's the point of life, is to evolve. We're supposed to grow as people, and a lot of people fall into the habit of not evolving. They stay the same. They're comfortable. The whole point of growing up is to evolve into the person you want to be, and constantly striving towards that. So I love that.
I appreciate it. I was listening to an audiobook yesterday. It's Talk Like Ted, and the author brought up a pretty awesome statistic that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. Throughout, like, a historian was doing some analysis, and throughout the entire span that Earth existed, that we know of, billions of years, 99% of species have went extinct.
Wow.
Human beings, crazy, right?
Wow.
Human beings are of that 1%. Want to know why? Because we used our brains to evolve and become smarter and not become extinct. Look at what we've developed from the primates, the cavemen. You know what I mean? And that's from our brains. Look at all these animals that are becoming extinct. If they had the same brain that the human being has, they would have built something to avoid extinction. We've done it multiple times as human beings to avoid extinction. There's many things that could have made us extinct through, like, for example, the Ice Age back in, this is a long, long time ago, but that could have wiped, if the Ice Age hit right now, think about what happens if Wi-Fi goes out. We all go crazy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Think about an Ice Age when everything is frozen. You don't know where the animals are. There's no more fishing. You have to learn but they're smart enough to learn how to ice fish. They're smart enough to put on fur. Hunt for specific animals, wear their fur for warmth, and then eat the animals. You know what I mean? There was no
survival of the fittest.
Exactly. Yep. But human beings are able to do that. We're able to evolve. But nowadays, not many people are leveraging that.
No.
Like, we have the ability. We are God's highest form of creation, right? But we're not utilizing it. And that's something that I am going to make sure that every single day of my life, not only am I utilizing it, but I'm also trying to spread this knowledge to other people so they could utilize it, because it's like they're blind as of right now too.
Yeah, people literally waste all their talent and potential just because they want to stay where they are, or they're comfortable, or they're worried about what other people say.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally, it's on a daily basis, and I used to be in that same mindset, and I had to completely revamp and change my entire lifestyle in order to do that.
Exactly. And I could relate 100%. Speaking earlier, I also said that I was a big introvert. And I like to use past tense now because, I could be one of the people that say, I'm still an introvert and still identify with that characteristic, but I don't do that anymore. I seek to change the way that I am. I was somebody that used to be immensely shy. I would never go out and start the conversation.
No.
But if I felt that I was comfortable with you, I could talk for hours, right? Once I built that rapport. But now it's like, in order to really be successful in this world, the way that I look at it, you need to be some sort of an extrovert. You need to build relationships. It's who you know at the end of the day, not what you know, right? You know, you may meet somebody tomorrow that not only can get you a specific deal that blows your life up and achieves all your goals. You have no idea. But if you're not somebody that's outgoing, that's going to build that relationship, build that rapport, you may miss that window of opportunity. So you need a level of, extrovert in you. And that's something that I knew that I had to get to that level. But also hitting on what you said, caring what people think. That is also a characteristic of people that are introverts, people that are shy, people that are, that act timid. They care what other people think, and then at the end of the day, they get controlled by other people. It doesn't matter, like, let's say there's a specific influence in your life that really, really is. Like, you want to impress them, you want to make sure that they're happy with you, or if it's just the general public that you feel like, I don't want to be seen by everybody as this. That limits you. I know you could speak about it more, but from my perspective, like when I was coming out with Positivity Chef, I started out as a meme page, and it took so much for me to put my face there. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, when I first started putting my face there, it wasn't even really me, because I was trying to be somebody I was not, because I was thinking about what people may think about me if I was truly myself. Yeah. Because it was a lack of confidence, and it was like, the level of, insecurity.
And look at all that time that you were worried about that, which is, it's normal, but look at all that time. You could have done so much in that time of worrying that you didn't do because you cared about someone who has no value in your life anyway. Like, who cares? That's what I always say. What their opinion, is it paying your bills? No. Is it, do you live with them? Is it your family? Does it affect your marriage or anything? Like, if it doesn't, then what do you care?
It's valueless.
It's words on a comment, or a text message. Like, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt at all. And sometimes it wouldn't even be words. It would just me be thinking about what other people are thinking. Yeah. And half the time they wouldn't even be thinking that. Yeah, exactly. It's absolute nonsense. Yeah. It's like, I'm worried about what they may be thinking, and I'm not even 100% certain that they are thinking about that. It's just me being insecure and thinking about criticisms about myself, because at the end of the day, it was a lack of self-love as well. Yeah. When you're insecure, you have a lack of self-love, lack of self-esteem. Exactly. And when you have that, you're your worst critic. So other people loved it. So there's probably there could have been people that were haters. It doesn't matter to me. Nobody voiced it to me. But if there was, there was. If there wasn't, there wasn't. But I was convincing myself that there was.
Yeah, that's. It's like, you're always you see everything about yourself that you think everybody else sees. Mm-hmm. And it's never the case. It's literally.
Exactly. Hyper focus on your flaws. Yeah. But it's a blessing and a curse. I'm very hyper focused on my flaws. It led me to be very insecure because I would focus so much on them and put too much focus on them. But it also allowed me to be successful in my career and be very meticulous in the way that I do things, because I have that I'm aware of the flaw, now I want to fix it. Yeah. But then you just find another one. So it's like an ongoing cycle, which leads to improvement, but also deteriorates your self-image, which is critical.
Yeah, and a lot of things that we consider flaws about ourselves, really, they're not really even flaws. It's good. Like, no one's perfect. We're all unique in our own ways. So like, you gotta learn that, like, too. Like, it's who you are. And not everything is a flaw. It's not everything's bad.
Exactly, just you. Yeah. Only we think it's bad because we're looking at ourselves, but other people, from their perspective, they don't view it as a flaw. Yeah. They may like it, they may love it, whatever it may be. It may be the reason why your significant other has fell in love with you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's the one thing that you're insecure about, and it's, I feel like it's designed that way. Mm-hmm. I feel like just human beings are designed that way, because if we're not able to love ourselves, we can't love anybody else. So it's like a training period. It's like train to learn to love yourself, and then you'll be able to love others. Yeah. And
that's people who like jump into relationships, and like, it's because they're scared to be alone. They're like, they just go from relationship to relationship. They never had that time by themselves where they like learned who they were as an individual, and I think that's so important. Especially like those people who are in relationships like from 12 years old, whatever it is, high school, and like never had that time to like be on their own and like know what they want and who they are. So they're scared of that.
Exactly. They're terrified. They always need to have somebody else with them. Alone time is probably the most valuable thing in my life. And 100%. Sometimes people don't understand that, but I always try to tell them, like, it's not that I like to be away from you. It's about I love to be with myself, because guess what? At that time, I get to think and really get in sync with who I truly am.
Yeah.
You really get to connect with your soul, your inner being. You can't do that when you're with somebody else because
No.
you're talking or it's a distraction.
Yeah.
You need full focus. You need full, quiet, alone time. Like, at least for me, you can get that in many different ways. Through a car ride, sitting and meditating. You know what I mean? Just sitting down and just being by yourself and just thinking and journaling. Working out by yourself, you know what I mean? With your headphones in or white noise in, something like that just allows you to be concentrated. But a lot of people, unfortunately, are not able to really leverage like the benefit of being alone because like they always feel like they need somebody else because they always had somebody else to fill that, you know what I mean, that gap, and that just they always want to avoid like fixing like what needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And that's a relationship with themselves. They think they're going to fix the relationship with themselves by having a relationship with somebody else.
Yeah.
But those people never fill that void that needs to be filled.
The best thing I ever did was, like, after my last breakup years ago, was stay by myself and learned who I was as an individual. And now it's to the point where if I'm going to be with someone, it's because I want them there, not because I need them there. You know, that's the point you got to get to. People feel like they need someone. I need a girlfriend. I need a boyfriend. And it shouldn't be like that. You should want them there. I don't need you, but I want you there. You know, that's
exactly. It's different.
That's like a level of, that's where you should be on, like by yourself, like of that self-love, like to the point where, all right, like I'm content. I'm perfectly good with myself, and the right person will come, and I want to be with you. I don't need you,
exactly,
to complete me. Like I'm completed on my own.
Exactly. And then that's how you'll be a better significant other in the future.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's how you're going to be able to, you know, really have a successful relationship. So many people are getting divorced nowadays because they feel like, oh, you know, this is the life that everybody got to live. You got to wake up, go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, retire. Who said?
Yeah.
Who said? Maybe that's not your life. Maybe your life is completely different than that, and you're going to be 10 times more successful. That's probably usually what happens. That's literally like what happens with all these unorthodox paths that people take. Like, but most people think, you know what I mean? If I'm not in a relationship now, I'm 24, like I'm gonna.
Yeah, there's
like,
no timeline for
no,
this. What are you rushing it? When it happens, it happens. If it happens when you're 21 and that's what's meant to be, it wasn't rushed, then that's what's meant to happen. If it happens when you're 30, it does. You know what? Why do you want to rush that? That's a big thing. You're with someone for the rest of your life. Like,
and that's when they make the mistakes. They make big mistakes. They find the wrong woman or find the wrong guy, and you know what I mean. They build a family with them, so it's like now it's irreversible, and then you have like. Unfortunately, sometimes you have like those terrible, you know what I mean, like situations that you would never wish that somebody else is in.
Yeah,
and it's because you're rushed.
And then you're stuck. Either you know, sometimes then you're stuck. You either stay because you had a kid at that point, and you both are miserable. Like it's like that's why like you gotta figure out who you are, be on your own, and like before you do anything, because it should be two individuals coming together. It shouldn't be like half and half complete each other.
Yeah, exactly. I don't believe in that at all. I love that how you just said it's two individuals coming together. You know what I mean? Not half and half trying to complete and make one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now, how did you like when you learned about like you had to take a step back and really understand who you were? Like, was there something that like triggered that? Was it like the relationship when it came to an end, or
no? That wasn't really the. I mean, I knew I had been in really like a couple of relationships from a young age to that point, and I knew I wanted to, you know, I was like I need to be on my own. Like I never really had the opportunity to, so that I understood to an extent that I wanted to be on my own, but like it took a little while for me to like really start to like learn about myself, learn what I needed to fix, things of that nature. You know?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
How are you gonna know what you need to fix if you don't like self-reflect and like go through like an audit of yourself?
Yeah, it took some maturing, of course, and lifestyle changes, and that's when I like really started to like, all right, now like I'm working on myself, because at first I didn't that much, you know. I just was I just didn't have a girlfriend. That's it.
Exactly.
There's a difference, you know, just being single or being on your own and really like developing as an individual.
Exactly. That makes complete sense. Now, if you had one thing to tell like your like younger self, call it your 16-year-old self, from what you know today, and you want to enrich his mind as quick as you can to get him to start making those lifestyle changes at 16 or 15 that maybe you've made at like 21 or 22, what would you tell that younger version of yourself?
I would I'd say stop listening to the voice in your head. I would straight up. That's what has stopped me from everything. The listening to the negative sides of, like, I wouldn't look at what could happen, like what's like potentially what the positive side of what could happen. I would look at what could go wrong. And
yeah.
I did that a lot as when I was younger, and it held me back a lot. And I think if I could go back, I would say that, but at the same time, I probably wouldn't, because, as I said, I feel anything that I went through, I learned from, and it made me who I am now. So maybe, I feel like I wouldn't be the same person.
Exactly. You don't want to change anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you had a tip to give to, let's say, another person that's at that age, that would have helped you.
That's what I
Boom.
would say. Yeah.
Exactly. But you want to change anything, because I mean, the place that you're at now, you're very content.
Yeah.
Not necessarily content, but you're happy, but you're still grinding. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which is awesome. So
It
you wouldn't
built
change a
the
thing.
work ethic that I have now.
Exactly.
That's what it 100% did. And I'm obviously, when I'm going through hard times, I'm not like, like this is building me up. Like, but I always, every time I've looked back, I've been like, like you realize there was a reason for that. Like, oh, look what it made me do.
Exactly. Everything has a reason, and I feel like the only way, again, to look at that is if you self-reflect and go back and look at that.
Yeah.
And see why that had to happen.
Yeah.
And that helps so much, because there's a lot of negative people out there that say, oh yeah, everything happens for a reason. Tell me why this is happening.
Yeah.
You may not find out. You have no idea.
You don't know.
You may find out in 5 years. Just be patient. Make sure you self-reflect and pay attention.
Yeah.
Just pay attention, because most people don't. The outer world doesn't affect you or doesn't control you. It may affect you, but you know what I mean? If you're strong enough, it won't. But the owner of your own life and your own destiny is within yourself, within your mind. Like you said, the voice in your head.
Yeah.
If you had to go back to your 16-year-old self and change one thing, it's saying, stop looking at all the negative outcomes that could potentially happen. Look at all the positive outcomes. And now that 16-year-old may have been a different person altogether. It could have been a pro boxer at this point.
Yeah.
You have no idea, because he would have been thinking, let me go into this ring. I'm going to do all these things. I know my skill set. I'm going to win this fight, instead of thinking potentially, what if I lose this fight? What if I train all this time for no reason? Like, whatever the negative thoughts may have been at that point. It's just different. It's a perspective. And it all goes back to your mind. I love to say life is a game of perception.
Yeah.
If you have a positive outlook and you're always thinking optimistic, the glass is half full, you know what I mean? You're going to have a different life, because you're going to seek those opportunities. You're going to identify those opportunities instead of saying, oh, yeah, that's too good to be true.
Yeah.
You're going to seize that opportunity. Now you're going to learn how life works, and you're going to be on a positive trajectory, as opposed to the negative person that's not even going to try and just doubt.
Yeah. Exactly. It's tough. I still work on it. Like, I'm not perfect. Like, if my phone fell and cracked, I'd probably be pissed. But no, it's definitely over time it has changed, because not like I said, when I'm going through hardships, I'm not sitting there like, yeah, this is making me strong. Like when I'm benching, like, yeah, this is making me stronger. But I try to, like, not, I guess, you don't want to panic. You don't want to, when you're confronted with a problem in life, I feel like I've trained my mind to the point where now I'm like, I handle it, I face it head on, I do what I have to do. And then, maybe in a year, 2 years down the line, I look back and I'm like, oh, if that never happened, then I wouldn't have met this person, or I wouldn't have went here. Like,
Exactly.
There's always it's crazy, because I find myself always looking back on that, and I'll be like, oh, if that never happened, that I maybe would have never met this person, or I would have
Exactly.
never. And
it helps.
Yeah. So it's hard to say, like, why, like, in the time of it, you're like, why is this happening to me? But you can't really get it. That's when you're like gonna let the situation just fold you. You have to. Whatever, it's happening. Let's deal with it.
Exactly.
Face it head on.
Exactly. You can't let it break you.
Yeah.
You have two choices. You can let it break you, or let it build you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I have the same exact outlook. If I look back right now to pre-pandemic, I was studying for the CFA, right? And I told you it was 500 hours of studying. I was grinding, like working 50 hours a week at work, and putting in 20, 25 hours a week, no weekends, didn't communicate with my friends. My phone was always off, grind mode. Test got pushed back because of COVID. And when you study for something,
it's discouraging.
It's discouraging, like, because guess what? I'm gonna go through all that material again. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna remember any of that. Like, the whole point is getting all that information in, doing a lot of mock tests right before the test, and then pass those mock tests. So when you go to the real test, you pass that test.
Yeah.
And then a lot of that information you lose. Maybe able to pull it out a little bit easier as like a refresher later on. But I was like really like bummed out when I saw that. And I was like, you know what? Like I could look at this one of two ways. 'Cause I was reading Think and Grow Rich at that time, and it talks a lot about your perception. So like I could look at this one of two ways. I could look from a negative lens or a positive lens. And long story short, that's when the Positivity Chef brand was born. I started focusing a lot on Positivity Chef. I built the brand because I needed something else to do. I was spending all my time, weekends, after work, everything. And then I had nothing else to do. I was like, I'm no longer interested in watching the football game because like now I disconnected from it so much because I was grinding. Yeah. I don't really have. I'm not going to reach out to my friends because like most of my friends were working different schedules. And then at some point, like I still love them to death. Like they're my boys, like the ones I grew up with. But there's a lack of connection sometimes because I'll be talking about the financial markets because what I've been engulfed in. Yeah. And looking at me like I have 17 heads. Like like I want to talk about this football game. And I don't care about the football game. And nothing against them, nothing against anything. It's just that sometimes you not necessarily grow apart, but you grow different. Things that you like to do, different interests. And then it's like, okay, so like, what am I going to do with my time? I want to be engulfed in this positivity. I want to be surrounded by positivity. So I built this brand. And now a year and a half later, I had no idea I would have a podcast. The logo was not this logo. I had one of my friends make it. It was like a fork and a knife and an X with like a script, Positivity Chef. It was his, and now I had no idea how to make a logo. I learned about Fiverr. I learned about all these different things. Next thing you know, like we have 2 mics in front of us, a custom made podcast table. I started reading extensively because I knew I had to read in order to build out the brand because that's who I wanted to be. I saw myself as someone who wears suits and has this type of brand. And then a year and a half later, I built it. Yeah. And it all happened on something that I could have labeled a negative event. But that was probably the most positive and beneficial event in my life because the trajectory I was on at that moment was get my CFA charter. It's a 3-level test. Once I get that, be the best employee at Bloomberg. But that was it. Now I'm still trying to be the best employee at Bloomberg, and I'm still excelling, and I'm still grinding my ass off there. But now I could do more because I widened my scope on what's possible.
Exactly.
And it was all from a negative event, right?
So you faced the problem, and you could have done what a lot of people would have done and just let it fold you and, just sit around, wait for time, and then, but look, you utilized that time. You stepped out of the norm and did what you had to do. And now you still have your career, but you're also grinding on the side, and
exactly
you opened up something completely new and different.
I never could imagine.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's it probably happened to you multiple times if you look back in your life, and it probably happens to everybody that's going to listen to this. If they look back in their lives and take a second to self-reflect, every negative thing probably had a spin-off, if you didn't let it break you, had a spin-off and turned into a positive thing because life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Yeah. And the moment you start realizing that's the case, that life happens for you, that's when your life changes.
Yeah. Respond, don't react.
I love that.
Respond to it.
Exactly.
Don't react. When you react, it's emotion. When you respond, it's like step back,
logic,
think, and then approach.
100%. I love that. Respond, don't react. I want to start using that. And I want actually as a thing I think about because there's like these little key things that I remember at those times. I'm like respond, don't react. It's like a mental note. But I love that because it's like you can't let your emotions control you. I'm reading a book now. It's called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. He was one of the last emperors of Rome, and he was a philosopher. And they call them like his type of philosophy like Stoicism. And Stoicism is about logical-based decision-making, not emotional. Get rid of your emotions. Yeah. Control your emotions. Make everything through logic. They refer to it as logos. It's the Latin term for logic. And that's like everything can be applied to that. Think about it from my expertise, financial market investing. The stock market goes down, everybody, the emotions, let me sell. Yeah. And then next thing you know, it comes back up and now you just lost money. Yep. The savvy investor is buying as it goes down. They're long-term focused. They're not short-term focused. They use logic to base their decisions and that wins the battle. The emotional-based investor loses every time. But that also gets applied to everything.
As little as you got an argument with your friend, like, you know what I mean? Like, you could be as little or as big as you want. Just respond, don't react. Like, once emotion takes over, if you're mad in the moment, you're gonna say anything, or you're upset in the moment, you're gonna say and do anything based off of that. If you take a step back and think about it, like, all right, like again, like what I said, like, all right, this is happening. what am I going to do now?
Exactly.
Rather than like completely losing focus and just like reacting based off of how you feel in the moment.
Exactly. Just making like a rash decision that you're going to regret.
Yeah.
How many people say, oh, I was angry, I'm sorry?
Yeah. That's,
you know what I mean? How many?
cut that out.
Exactly.
And at that point, you could jeopardize something just based off because I was angry. I'm sorry. I'm sad. I was sorry. Like, you know,
Exactly.
you could ruin something. It might not be the same. Yeah, I'm sorry. You could say I'm sorry. It's not going to fix anything. Whereas if you took that logical approach, maybe it could have went differently. That fight that you got in with someone, maybe it wouldn't have been a screaming match and you both threw low blows at each other. Could have been like a logical conversation, discuss it, and that's it. And
you got past it.
Yeah.
There's something that was bothering each one. Let's say a relationship, there's something that's bothering each one. Instead of blowing up and just saying disrespectful things that we will never be able to repair from and recover from, you take a step back and say, you know, there's something that I'm doing that's bothering you. There's something that you're doing that's bothering me. Let's talk it out.
Yeah.
I love you. I wanna, you know, I wanna change. Let me know what I can do.
Yeah.
And then you both, as partners, move forward. But that's logic. That's what the logical being is going to do. Saying, you know what I mean? There's obviously something wrong here like, between us two. We care about each other. Obviously, we've been together for X amount of years. People are married 20 years.
Yeah.
There's some. Let's actually put some effort to fix this. But no, they let emotions come up. Some little thing happens. A fight breaks out, and then you'll never take back what you said. Once you say something, and it gets received by the other.
Apologize all you want. They know. You know,
they know how you truly feel. Now you're just trying to mask it, or even if like sometimes you say things that you don't even really feel, but you just want to hurt the other person.
Yeah.
Now it's a permanent scar.
Exactly.
So anyway, with that being said, I do want to take a segue and talk a little bit about your success that you've had, you know, on social media by growing your personal brand. Now, if let's say I had to ask you one question, what was the number one thing that led to that success? If you had to give a tip to somebody out there that's starting their personal brand.
Yeah, so I get this question a lot. People always ask me like, how can I grow on social media? What can I do? And my biggest piece of advice, because I really didn't do anything like too crazy. I tell them be genuine and post of value. That's something they can take from it. You know, don't just post like nonsense. You could go viral for like something funny or stupid, but like I took the approach of posting genuinely. I shared my personal story, and that took traction. Initially I posted like my weight loss journey because there was a period in my life I was pushing like 200 pounds. It was out of shape. Even I was still working out, but I was not taking my health serious. You know, I was eating whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and then I just hated the way I felt. You know, my daily habits, because when you fall off in that aspect of like taking your health serious, your daily habits are off too. I was waking up late, go to sleep late, and I don't do that anymore. You know, and I made those changes and then posted that on social media, shared like over time how I was losing weight and taking my health and fitness more serious. And a lot of people were reaching out. They had the same problem. They want to know how I did it, how I'm doing it. They said like, a lot of people would say like, oh, I look like how you did when you started. I want a transformation like that too. And I would interact with them and explain to them like how I did it, the changes I made. Another big thing that I posted was my lifestyle change. Aside from that was, you know, as 21-year-olds do, you go out, drink, party, you know, and did that for a while. I had fun, you know. I did it with groups of friends that I thought were like my good friends, and turns out that they weren't. And I just got sick of the lifestyle, living for the weekend, which I didn't like, you know, living for 2 days a week.
Exactly.
Waking up on Sunday, seeing I spent money that I'm like, where this for what? With nothing to show for it. And then doing what I call the Staten Island Shuffle. So in the summer, I was going down the shore, and in the winter, I'm going to the city. I'm going to Hoboken. It was just the same thing over and over, and I just was like, you know, it's cool if some people want to do it, but I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to take my health and fitness serious, and I started to document my journey on Instagram, and people that followed me, at that point, my following was based off pretty much people that I knew from growing up, whatever, around the island. And a lot of people were, I caught a lot of pushback from it because it's just out of the norm. I wasn't posting pictures of partying and alcohol like everybody else. I was posting me at the gym. So people were making comments, and who messages me and is like, oh, make a fitness Instagram. Like, stop posting so much. So telling me what to post on my social media. Like,
Crazy.
stop posting so much fitness stuff. And I was like at first it bothered me, and I was like, I would be like timid to post something because I thought I was worried, like we were talking about before. I was worried about like who's gonna screenshot, whose group chat am I gonna wind up in, who's gonna comment on it, who's gonna message me, who's gonna unfollow me, because like that's just the culture around here. Is like, you do anything out of the norm and it's like the norm. I put quotes around that because it's not normal. You do anything different and you're gonna be looked down upon.
Exactly.
And it took a while and for me to not care. Eventually I was like, I realized, my true friends that stayed around always are my real friends, and the other ones just wanted me around for a good time. And for the most part they just stopped talking to me, and I stopped talking to them, and I didn't care anymore. And then I shared that, and a lot of people, more than I expected, had the same issue, and they would reach out to me like, I want to change my life, my lifestyle, my daily habits, my fitness, but my friends always want me to go out, or my friends are toxic, this, that. And like, I couldn't believe how many people would message me and say like, so inspirational, you motivated me to like make that change. Like, I didn't go out this weekend when my friends wanted me to, and like, or I cut off this toxic group that was bringing me down, and thank you so much. And like, it was nice, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like, I'm making an impact on
Exactly.
people. And then that just, I continued to do that, and I always answer people when they need advice on something, and I do my best to have some type of, value when I do post or when I do answer them. And that, like I said, that's my best advice for them, is to just post a value, be genuine, and also don't care like about anything anybody says. Most people, they just wish that they had that confidence or that ability to do what you're doing, but they just don't want to, because they're worrying about the same things that you used to worry about. So
they care what people think, so they're jealous. They're jealous of your level of authenticity and how you're able to hold yourself and make yourself better. Misery loves company. They were trying to pull you down to a certain degree. Like, people may say, oh no, I wasn't, but like, there's like that emotion. Again, people make emotion-based decisions. Jealousy and envy are also emotions that make people may throw shots at you, or judge you, or try to say that they're giving you constructive feedback, constructive criticism, but they're trying to always hinder your growth. And you have to separate from that toxic, like those toxic people. You need to identify them and separate from them. And I agree 100% from like my experience building my brand on Instagram. It's provide value, try not to look at the numbers and the reach and get caught up in a game of like how your page is performing, because that will just demotivate you and really like throw you off, because you're gonna think, oh, I'm not doing good, I'm not doing as good as I was last week, I'm not growing as much, and you're focusing on the wrong thing. Focus on what you said, impact. If somebody's DMing you and saying you've helped them, which I've had a lot of people DM me as well, saying like, thank you, like your posts have really inspired me. The most impactful thing that I've probably ever did, I got a message, and I don't even know how this is possible, but somebody messaged me saying that they're serving a life sentence, and I still have the DM, and he was like, I log in and I look at your posts whenever I have the time. I guess I have like a shared iPad or something. I don't know how it is. I probably should have asked.
I think
something like that, when you're doing probably like a life sentence like that. And he was like, it's really hard to think positive, but you really helped me through your posts, through your captions. And when I read that, it changed the way that I looked at my brand. You know what I mean? It was more impact focused, and I'm trying to, create systems, create, things that, like frameworks that people could utilize in order to take all the information that I've received through the books that I've read, the content I've consumed, and put that all into something that's actionable for people. And that's like when I really made that pivot. And when I started making that pivot, that's when the value starts to grow. That's when I post a reel and the reel blows up, it's because I'm talking about something financial literacy that's going to help people, or I'm speaking on a subject that's going to help people, control their emotions, or just talking about the like happiness, how to be more happy and how to separate yourself from people, like things like that you don't learn in the school system. You don't learn when you go to school. Like, it's just something that you should learn. You should learn emotional control. You should learn how to manage your money. You should learn what matters, but you don't. And I think there's a lack of like places that you could find that value. And there's a lot of people out there that may not have had the best parents or the best guidance in their lives. And if I can be someone that pops up on their feed when they need it, like that's all I want.
Exactly.
At the end of the day.
That like overcame anything someone could say to me negatively. Like, was getting a message from someone like telling me how I impacted them. Like, the craziest thing that I ever got was someone messaging me. I don't know who he is. I live somewhere else in the country, and seemed as if he was like on the verge of suicide. And it was like I read it. I remember reading it, and I was like, oh God. And like I sat there and was messaging this kid back and forth for like, I think it was like an hour, and I helped him out of the funk he was in, and like still to this day he keeps in touch with me. Like, you're more helpful to me than people around me. And I'm like, he's like, and you don't even know me, and I don't understand why. And I'm like, I like it, but that's just such an amazing feeling. Like I that I could have some type of impact. Like, who am I that, I don't know why people confide in me to the point that they do, but like I really appreciate it because it helps me to be able to impact and help people like that. So at this point, nothing anybody says can be like, deter me from posting how I do or living my life how I do, because it's showing other people that they could do it too.
Exactly. And you're helping people.
Thing, yeah.
You're being of service
exactly.
to others now, and that's a service that's really, really needed nowadays. There's so much lack around that. We see what's the biggest issue nowadays: mental health. Mm-hmm. And if people just had a supporting cast that, that actual person felt they can confide in that individual, mental health wouldn't be as bad as it is today. Mental health is just not being able to control your thoughts, control your emotions. Mm-hmm. That leads you to do actions that you regret, and you can't, let things go. And it takes you down a downward spiral of emotions, negative feelings. And that's what in my opinion, that's what the majority of mental health is, right? Yeah. When people are extremely, extremely depressed. Why are you depressed? Because your perception on life is off.
You're just surrounded by negativity, and
it's like a dark
spirals.
cloud. It's a downward spiral. You're going all the way down the emotional ladder.
Yeah.
I refer to like your emotional spectrum as an emotional ladder. It starts at the depression, that's the first rung. All the way at the top is joy and enlightenment. And through like the entire spectrum, you have things like happiness, you have things like anger, you have things like sadness. All of that and is like, that's your emotions. Mm-hmm. And people go down the ladder and they get closer and closer to depression. And then once you're in the depression, it's so hard to get out. You can't just jump from depression to joy. That's not how it works. You have to climb this ladder back out, but there's nobody out there trying to really extend their hand to help them climb.
And that's what I try to help people with too, is daily habits that'll help too. Like daily habits and who you surround yourself with. Like, if you're surrounded by negativity, you're going to be negative. If your daily habits are not benefiting you in any way, and you're kind of slacking off, that's going to lead to negativity as well. So when people ask me for advice, the best advice I always can give them is like how to start changing their life, what to change, what can you do different? Who can you be around that's different? The second I cut out anybody negative who really, weren't benefiting me goal-wise, I connected with like-minded, goal-oriented people, and now I surround myself constantly with people who aspire to do something, anything, but we talk about that. We're not talking about what we're going to do this weekend. We're talking about where we're going to wind up one day. And
exactly.
To me, that's the positivity I need. That's the conversations I want to have. And if I don't want small talk. I don't want to talk about other people. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And makes such a difference. It really does. So
changes everything. People don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't like to gossip. I don't gossip. Why am I going to spend my precious time talking about somebody else?
Yeah.
Like it's just the worst.
I don't care someone else. You know?
I don't care what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if I hate when people are like they want to get into gossiping and they want to talk negative about this person did this. If I'm in that conversation and I can't leave because it's like the environment that I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm always gonna be like, well, you have no idea what they're thinking, what situation
Yeah.
they're in. Like, what if that makes that person happy? Oh, look how they're dressing. What if they like to dress like that? What if that puts a smile on their face? What if there's a reason why they like those pants that they're wearing?
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Exactly.
Like, and then they look at the people do not like that.
No, they don't.
They don't like that, but I don't care.
That's
Like
out
if
of
you're
the-
gonna
like I
do it,
said,
then don't talk in front of me.
You're considered out of the norm, quote
Yeah.
unquote.
Good.
Like, and that's that. Like, there was a point in my life where I would get into those you know what I mean? Like when I would surround myself with those people, and I was in that environment constantly. I wasn't how I am now, where I just don't want any part of it. I would engage in the conversations
Same.
about small talk and the weekend plans or what happened last week. And now I'm thinking, what can I do every day to be better and get better, and where can I wind up, what I want my future to look like. And if the people that you're with aren't talking about that, then you're holding yourself back.
Exactly. And then that's exactly how I look at it as well. Like I'm very focused on what's next. How can I get better? Like I don't care about the weekend. I don't go out, and if I do go out, it's like more of a it's not going out. It's like, we had people at the house because it was a birthday, and we're celebrating.
An occasion.
You know what I mean? It's
100%.
I'm not
occasions.
exactly.
I'm not going. I don't. What am I going to celebrate every weekend for?
Friday?
I don't do the same thing. Yeah. It's Friday. It's the end of the week.
Let's go get hammered and waste all money.
And then Sunday, and Saturday, Sunday, then Monday. Now I'm going to look forward to Friday again. That's 5 days of the week you're missing out on. Like, you're just looking to that Friday to get to Friday. What about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? You're just gonna go through the motions, and
hate your job, hate your life, not do anything productive, and then next thing you know, 20 years pass, you're the same person you were 20 years ago.
In the same spot.
You've wasted 20 years, and that's time. You don't waste time.
No.
Like people, don't waste your money, save your money. Fuck money. I could go take $100 bill, burn it, and then get another $100. I could walk and find one.
Yeah.
Someone can call me and say, I'll pay you $100 to do this, but I will never get back December 3rd. 2021. I'll never get it back. That was yesterday. I'll never get it back.
It's done.
It's done. It's gone. It's in the past. You'll never get it back. You can't create time.
Mm-hmm.
But people are wasting 20 years doing the same bullshit.
Yeah.
People are just throwing 5 out of 7 days a week out.
Yeah. Just because they want that feeling to go out and just forget about their actual life. And it's just it's depressed. That's why I wanted no part of it. I was like, I'm looking forward to the weekend, and I'm the rest of the week is miserable. I don't want any I want to look forward to every day. I want to utilize every day as best as I can. If you hate your job, then use those days in your free time to work to get out of that job.
Exactly.
Or don't most people just sit? All right, I hate my job, but I'm off on Fridays. I'm off on Saturdays and Sundays, and I could go out and.
Exactly. It boils down to also the negative perception that we spoke about all the way at the beginning of this episode. Because guess what? They don't think it's possible to build the side hustle and then leave their job. They don't see it. And guess why it never happens? Because they don't see it.
Exactly.
It's all about your perception. Your perception is what triggers your action. Your action is what creates the result. Your result is what the life that you want to live or the life you don't want to live. So if I'm negative, I'm going to have doubt. It's going to create the doubt emotion in my mind. If I have doubt, I'm going to not take action on building a side hustle or trying to get away from my job. If I don't take that action, I will never have the result of leaving my job and living my dream. My result is going to be staying at my job. It always triggers down to that negative perception, that negative outlook. But at the end of the day, it's not something that I'm going to say I don't blame them, because they have their own level of blame, these people. But negativity in this world, I believe, is more prevalent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say abundant, because I believe in abundance for everything that you pay attention to. I would say prevalent, because you turn on the news, every station, it's very negative.
It's what you watch. It's what you listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I do that. I make sure, like, I started like a couple of years ago, but like listening to podcasts, and I like to listen to successful people's podcasts, that aren't talking about the nonsense negativity
Exactly.
today. I want to listen to people who are giving me value, just like I want to provide value for other people. It's all about what you're surrounded with and what you listen to, what you consume, what you eat, daily habits every day.
Exactly. It always gets broke down to that daily habits. You say daily habits, I say daily to-do list, but it's the same thing. You know what I mean? It's the little things that you do on a daily basis, and you have to be very critical with the content that you consume, with the food that you consume, whatever you're putting into your body. This is your temple. This is your temple, and your mind is like the most powerful thing. We spoke about it. In order to survive, you need to evolve. We were able to evolve and not become extinct because we have a mind. We're smart. We can get smarter. This is the most valuable thing in the world, but people aren't cleaning it out. People aren't treating it right. They'll go
it with garbage.
Clean their car, and a scratch on their car, they're gonna flip out.
Yeah.
But the most valuable, try to get a brain. Yeah. Try to make a human brain. They're still trying to do it with artificial intelligence. They can't manufacture what's in here, but they're feeding it garbage with the food that they're consuming, the content that they're consuming, the people that they're surrounding themselves with. They're literally wasting their brain. A brain is like, I like to think of it as like soil, like fertile soil. Whatever you plant, it's going to give you. You could plant poison. You can plant a nice tree that's going to reap like beautiful fruit. It's your choice.
Yeah.
It's going to give you whatever you ask for.
Exactly.
People are just throwing all this poison at it, and then when the poison grows and all this negative stuff happens in their life, they're like, oh, why me?
This literally like ties into everything that we spoke about. This could even go to the first thing we spoke about: big goal, small goals lead to big goals. So like, set small goals. I'm not even talking about like I wanna run 1 mile. Small goal as small as, all right, I'm going to get up an hour earlier. I'm going to read before, something
I'm going to make the bed.
Make the bed. Yeah, make the bed. That
literally
famous speech.
Exactly. The famous speech on, what is it? It's a TED Talk, I believe. There was a famous speech. And also, it's a book.
It's a book. I read the book.
Yeah, exactly. It's making your bed. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And my wife actually said it the other day, and when she said it, she doesn't know of the book, and I know she doesn't know the book. She was like, I've been making the bed every morning because it makes me feel good. When she said that, I'm like, holy shit.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? It's so small, because it's the logic. You accomplish something today. Yep. You don't feel useless. You don't feel down. You feel good. And then guess what? When you feel that, it's like a runner's high. It's like and you get those endorphins or the level of dopamine, right? That's like, I accomplished something. Let me do it again. Let me do it again. Let me do it again. When you have that addiction, humans are like addicted to dopamine. That's why there's a few things that produce it. Working out, Instagram, or also doing drugs gives you an artificial dopamine, right? So that's what makes it addicting. And now you could really become addicted to success. And when you're addicted to success, that's when it goes. Yep. That's when it goes, because then you're relentless. But until then, get yourself to that point. Yeah. Small. Stop looking at these people that are taking these big strides. 1% of a dollar is 1 cent. 1% of 100 million is 1 million. It's still 1% though. Yep. Stop looking at the 1% of the guy that has 100 million. Just look at it as 1%, because he just got good at making 1%.
Yep.
1%, 1%. Then that 1% that he started off with $100 turned into $100 million, and now that 1% is $1 million.
Yep.
That's using money as an example, but that applies to everything in life. His 1% is a giant leap. Don't compare his 1% to your 1%. Look at 1% and then do it over time.
Exactly.
Time is the key. Not money, not anything else. It's time. Do something consistently over a span of time. That's the equation. That's how you become successful.
You want to be a millionaire? Start by waking up early. That's the first thing in your day is getting up. So you want to be a millionaire? That's all the way out here. Start today by waking up early. That is the first thing you do.
Exactly.
Just get that. That's like one accomplishment. If you wake up at 6, get up at 5. Try that. Utilize that extra hour, and then take it from there throughout your day.
Exactly.
Change around different habits, and then eventually you'll develop that work ethic, those skills, and it's such a better, positive lifestyle that you could live.
100%. I agree with that completely. Before we end off here, is there anything else that you want to tell the listeners before we wrap up that you may have not spoke on today, or one thing that you want to leave them off with?
I think we hit every point that I could think about.
Yeah, this was a great episode. There's a lot of value. There's a lot of clips here that they're gonna have to do a lot of rewinding. If you don't have a notebook right now and you're listening to this, rewind to get a notebook. We did drop a lot of gems on this one.
Yeah, I guess one thing I'll say is try different things, and never doubt your capabilities, because I doubted my capabilities for a long time, and I'm showing myself every day that I'm capable of way more. So definitely try everything and anything. If it scares you, if it doesn't scare you, but anything to promote your growth.
Exactly. Focus on growth. Be goal oriented. Focus on growth, and don't let fear
Yeah.
stop you, because it does it to a lot of people.
Yep.
I appreciate you coming on today. This was an amazing
thank you for having
episode.
me, bro.
No, of course, anytime, literally anytime. With that being said, tune in next time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment below with what you're going to do to now start changing your life. Any tips that we may have given this episode. I know Frankie dropped a lot of gems. I'm going to leave his Instagram and his TikTok in the caption as well. So tune in next week and we'll talk soon.